Value, Price, and Profit by Karl Marx. Part 9. Value of Labor. We must now return to the expression value or price of labor. We have seen that, in fact, it is only the value of the laboring power, measured by the values of commodities necessary for its maintenance. But since the workman receives his wages after his labor is performed, and knows, moreover, that what he actually gives to the capitalist is his labor, the value or price of his laboring power necessarily appears to him as the price or value of his labor itself. If the price of his laboring power is 3 shillings, in which 6 hours of labor are realized, and if he works 12 hours, he necessarily considers these 3 shillings as the value or price of the 12 hours of labor, although these 12 hours of labor realize themselves in a value of 6 shillings. A double consequence flows from this. Firstly, the value or price of the laboring power takes the semblance of the price or value of labor itself, although, strictly speaking, value and price of labor are senseless terms. Secondly, although one part only of the workman's daily labor is paid, while the other part is unpaid, and while that unpaid or surplus labor constitutes exactly the fund out of which surplus value or profit is formed, it seems as if the aggregate labor was paid labor. This false appearance distinguishes wages labor from other historical forms of labor. On the basis of the wages system, even the unpaid labor seems to be paid labor. With the slave, on the contrary, even that part of his labor which is paid appears to be unpaid. Of course, in order to work, the slave must live, and one part of his working day goes to replace the value of his own maintenance. But since no bargain is struck between him and his master, and no acts of selling and buying are going on between the two parties, all his labor seems to be given away for nothing. Take, on the other hand, the peasant serf, such as he, I might say, until yesterday existed in the whole of East of Europe. This peasant worked, for example, 3 days for himself on his own field, or the field allotted to him, and the 3 subsequent days he performed compulsory and gratuitous labor on the estate of his lord. Here, then, the paid and unpaid parts of labor were sensibly separated in time and space, and our liberals overflowed with moral indignation at the preposterous notion of making a man work for nothing. In point of fact, however, whether a man works 3 days of the week for himself in his own field and 3 days for nothing on the estate of his lord, or whether he works in the factory or the workshop 6 hours daily for himself and 6 for his employer, comes to the same, although in the latter case the paid and unpaid portions of labor are inseparably mixed up with each other, and the nature of the whole transaction is completely masked by the intervention of a contract and the pay received at the end of the week. The gratuitous labor appears to be voluntarily given in the one instance and to be compulsory in the other. That makes all the difference. In using the word value of labor, I shall only use it as a popular slang term for value of laboring power. You have reached the end of Value, Price, and Profit, Part 9, Value of Labor by Karl Marx. Click on the links at the end of this video to go to the playlist or the next chapter if it's available. If you enjoy this content and would like to support the channel, please like and subscribe.